Good evening, good morning to wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to another episode. I've been gone the last couple of days, had some things I had to take care of. Happy to be back. I was watching the markets. What was it? I think Thursday. Yeah, it was Thursday and Friday, and holy hell, it was pretty damn brutal. Holy hell, it was pretty brutal. So if you're here, congratulations, you made it one more day. Bitcoin definitely took one of the biggest beatings we've seen in quite a while. I think it dropped down to about the $60,000 range. And, that was not seen since 2024. So it was pretty bad. So real quick, I see we have Super Straight Guy in the chat. So, hey, welcome. Always a pleasure to have you here. We see G Bro. Hey, man, welcome. All right, so again, this is more or less going to be a chill day. All right, guys, we're not doing anything too crazy here. All right, we're just kind of sitting, chilling, having some coffee. At least I'm having some coffee. I know it's probably late for a lot of you guys out there on the east or east and central America. Anyways, let me get this fan going because it's starting to warm up in this heezy. Last Friday, let's see. So last Friday, I bought 2,000 worth of BTCI and 1,000 worth of Neos Ethereum high income. So congratulations, man. It was, yeah, Thursday was absolutely insane. Thursday was absolutely insane. I was watching my portfolio and I'm just like, holy hell. But it was during that time when the sell-off was happening for Bitcoin that I was like, come on, I need to go a little bit lower. I want to dump in. I did end up increasing my IBIT shares. I do own at this moment, I think it's 1.17 worth of, Bitcoin in iShares, IBIT shares. So I'm increasing my Bitcoin exposure during this dip. I really think we're going to go lower on Bitcoin. I really do think we're going to go lower on Bitcoin. Just watching other videos, bigger channels, and kind of how they're doing the technical analysis, it really does feel like we are going to go lower. So I'm going to hold on to some of the powder and just looking on X and everything and what people are saying. I really think we're going lower, guys, and I'm all for it. I'm trying to get as much exposure to this Bitcoin as possible. So I'm really excited for it. Bought 70.75% Bitcoin on Thursday. Nice. Let's see. 1200 XRP. And then we have from Farut. Hey, welcome back. We are the Super Bowl. We're going to be stupid Rick. I think you mean stupid rich. Oh, there it is. Stupid rich. Yeah, man. I forget. Is the Super Bowl coming up? I think the Super Bowl is coming up, right? Yeah. You know what? Shoot, I forgot. Is today the Super Bowl? Hold on. Am I streaming during the Super Bowl? This is crazy. Oh, shoot, I really am. Oh, damn, I didn't even know it was a Super Bowl today. Damn, I've been out of the loop for a while. Holy hell. Yeah, it looks like Patriots are getting their butts spanked and they're battling the Seattle Seahawks. I remember, what was it? Back in 2016? I think it was 2016 was the Super Bowl that the Patriots had played the Seahawks in, and they ended up losing. They lost in the first half. I don't follow football, but they lost in the first half, and then they came back and just dominated in the second half. If I remember correctly, that was when there was that football player or whatever. He was like 4, right? 4. and then yeah, Tom Brady came out and he had his fourth Super Bowl ring or something like that later that day. I don't remember the whole thing, but I remember that. That was a crazy day because I was going to work that day. And I know we're supposed to be getting on investment stuff, but we'll get to that in a second. But I remember I was going to work that day, right? And I checked my phone, and the Patriots were down again they were down the entire game. They had almost no points at that point. It was a 30-minute drive into work. I checked my phone again, and they completely just passed the Seattle Seahawks. I remember this. Everyone in the office was so pissed. That is so funny. Let's see. I appreciate that, G bro. Man, I really did not know that today was a Super Bowl. Holy crap. I'm so disconnected when it comes to this kind of stuff. All right, guys, let's talk about it. All right, let's get into it. Let's get into some news. All right, let's get into some stuff I found last couple of days, because there was so much fear, doom, and gloom out there. There was an insane amount of fear, doom, and gloom. It's like the whole sky was falling. Everyone was talking about selling their Bitcoin, getting out of, of course, MSTR was wrapped in there, right? We're going to be talking a little bit about MSTR because, again, the amount of FUD that was coming out, like I could care less. Like I really could care less what people's opinions are, right? Like show some hard fact. If you could show some hard fact, hard data, then I would listen. But a lot of it was FUD, right? Fear, uncertainty, and doom, right? And people just like eating into the narrative, right? Oh, Bitcoin is fake. It's always been a fake asset. Like, excuse me, you shouldn't be buying Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no value. And, X is full of like, oh, I sold all my Bitcoin. I sold all of my blocks. I sold all of my BTCI. I sold all of my MSTR, MSTY, MSTW. I sold everything, right? And I'm like, none of it. You guys really have no idea what you're doing. Probably your accounts are probably bigger than mine, but like nothing has changed. Nothing fundamentally has changed with one, MSTR, and two, Bitcoin. Nothing has fundamentally changed with these two things, right? And people are just losing their minds on X and on YouTube. And it, of course, if you read this stuff and you're exposed to this, right, it starts to alter your thinking. You start to doubt yourself. You start to doubt your conviction, right? For me, never been stronger. Why? Because I actually watched the damn earnings report for MSTR, and it just like, it made me even more bullish on MSTR, which is probably a recipe for disaster. So anyways, let's talk about it, guys. Let's get into it. Absolutely. Hey, 100% right here. All right. Keep investing, guys. Never stop. All right. Never stop investing. Remember, this is important. All right. This is going to give you options later in life, especially if you're making the right choices. Okay, maybe not investing all your money into MSTY or alty, but maybe having some some diversification, like an index fund or something. It's probably also just as prudent, right? Also a good thing to have. So let's see. Farouk says, this day last year, my drunk neighbor having Super Bowl parties calls me oh my God, I didn't even read that. Ooh, I'm gonna take that down. I did not even read the entire message. I'm not gonna even finish that. I need to read my messages. Okay, all right, let's see. Super straight guy, no, don't do that. Please don't do that. All right, Robinhood has actually been getting beaten down, but I think they have earnings coming up, so we're gonna take a look and see what's gonna happen with them. Whew, man, Farouk, you're trying to get my channel in trouble, bro. I kept my MSTR, my MSTY, MST, MSTX, MSTU, LFGY, and YBTC in blocks. Hey, good for you, man. Like, a lot of people are selling out because of the fear. As a matter of fact, let's just get into it, guys. I keep saying it. All right. There was a post, and we're gonna take a look at this. Okay. Let's see. So again, I have nothing really prepared. All of these tabs up here, we're going to go through here in a minute. But again, this is like the Sunday chill sesh. Okay. So let's see. I still don't even know how to really use X. So, hey, there's me right there. You got 10 people watching. Hey, shout out to all my X viewers. All right. Appreciate you guys joining in. All right, so where it is. Okay, nope, that's not it. Here we go. So I kept seeing these two lines, right? These were all over. This was all over X. It was actually really annoying, and it was even inside, the Discord. Like, people were just saying, "Oh, MSTR is about to get liquidated. It's done, right? Sailor's gonna have to sell all of the Bitcoin, right? He's done. He's cooked. It's over, guys. We told you not to buy MSTR, right? And then, yeah, they will need to sell the Bitcoin in order to pay the dividend. Sailor's so stupid, and MSTR they will have to sell. This is going to cascade into bigger problems, later down the line, blah, blah, blah. It just got ridiculous, right? On Thursday. Well, there was just two slides you had to look at. We're going to go over these slides. We're going to go over the presentation, right? So you guys can see it yourself. But MSTR holds $60 billion in Bitcoin. They only have to pay $888 million in dividends, right? I think they have enough freaking money in order to pay off this dividend. So one, this chart absolutely destroyed the bear case against MSTR, right? And those people who are like, oh, MSTR is going to have to liquidate in order to pay the dividend. Well, hard to liquidate $60 billion, right, to pay an 888. There's no reason to do that. Okay, so they have, let's see, even if this was $1 billion in dividends, they have 60 years worth of dividend coverage. So again, I looked at that and I kind of just laughed. I was like, these people obviously have no idea what they're even talking about. But of course, MSTR is has the biggest target on their back because one, they hold a lot of the Bitcoin. Two, is the first treasury, right? It's the first treasury. So everyone's coming out saying, oh, treasuries were stupid to begin with. You know, this is all a Ponzi scheme, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you're bullish and a believer in Bitcoin or high conviction in Bitcoin, then MSTR, in my opinion, for me, it makes sense. So that is why I hold MSTR. So the second slide that destroys this bear case is this right here. They raised $2.25 billion worth of cash reserves to pay a dividend of $888 million a year. They have 30 months of dividend coverage. They can last an entire winter, a Bitcoin winter, for at least a little while, right? At least, half or whatever it is, right? So they can weather the storm. I think this was probably the one of the smartest moves coming out of MSTR, right? Was raising this cash because it destroyed their entire, it destroyed the bears. It absolutely destroyed the bears. Let's see. From Fruit, when I sell my house this month for around $250K, it's going into BTCI. I also have some real estate stuff that I'm working on. So as soon as some of that stuff comes to a close, I don't know what I'll do, but it definitely is coming into the portfolio for sure. Real estate, residential real estate is absolutely getting cooked. It was good 2020, right? 2020 into 2021. And then as soon as 2022 came out, everything just went bad. High interest rates. You had the mass migration patterns, from like the high cost of living areas to the low cost of living areas. You had the advent of remote work and all this crap. So it was all bullish for real estate. But, real estate has just been in an absolute bear market those last couple of years. Let's see what else. Yeah. So anyways, going back to MSTR, these two slides right here was all you needed to watch or look at, right? These two slides right here. What it destroys the bear case. MSTR is going to get liquidated, right? Even though Bitcoin is below MSTR's average cost basis of about $76,000 a coin, that's still not enough to liquidate them. Still not even close to enough to liquidate. They don't owe any money they have no debt. They have perpetual debt, right? They have the preferred shares, right? They have the convert debt, the convertibles, right? This is still not enough to liquidate MSTR. So again, I just, when I was reading all the FUD, especially again, like on X, because X is a real cesspool of opinion. And even, just people coming in and just having their victory lap, right? Everyone's having their victory lap. Everyone loves a good sell-off, right? Everyone likes to say they were right, about this going down, etc. But where's everyone going to be 1 year from now when this rips higher? When there's this, face melting rip to the upside, and it eventually gets back to 125, and then 150. And then 175, and then 200, right? What happens then? Where are all these people going to be, right? And of course, the cycle continues, right? The bulls are in charge. The bulls are talking all their trash. And then, of course, the bears will, oh, one day it's going to go down. And of course, it'll go down, right? So anyways, my message out to you guys is don't feed into the garbage, right? Don't feed into the hysteria. Don't feed into the hype. Don't feed into the fear, doom, and gloom. Like, do your own research, have your own conviction, right? British Hodl, who I listen to a lot, he says, don't borrow conviction, right? What he means, and I think that's important. Don't borrow conviction. Don't use someone else, especially my videos, right? My old videos, we've seen it all on YouTube, right? People are buying things because other YouTubers bought it, right? And at the time, it sounded like a good idea, right? But when these crashes happen, right, when these pullbacks inevitably happen, right, people start to sell out and say that the ETF sucks, the stock sucks, the crypto coin sucks, et cetera, right? It's because the conviction was not there to begin with. So don't borrow people's convictions. Have your own conviction for your own picks. That is extremely important. Let's see. So Latro says, without proof of price action, Bitcoin is toast. Well, you might be right. You might be right. I mean, we'll find out one day. You know, we will find out. Execute order 66 says dividend says, hey, welcome back, man. It's good to have you. Let's see. Oak, let's see. I got to start reading these messages, man. I got to start being careful, man. I can't just be posting all this stuff. Just keep investing. At the very least, I'm treating the semiconductor sector like the S&P 500 this year, blindly DCing consistently. You know, I really want to talk about, let's get into it, guys. First, let me pull up SMH, okay? Let's talk about some really interesting stuff that I also just found out, okay? So anyways, S&P 500 not doing so hot. Oh, whoops. I actually needed that. Futures are looking okay, right? Futures open green. But this is one of the big things, right? This is one of the big things that came out last week, because we have earnings coming up for a lot of companies, but we had earnings last week. Amazon came out and said, hey, we see Google spending a lot of money on AI, CapEx, you know, data center build out, all that stuff. We're also going to be spending more than Google, right? You have the hyperscalers who are constantly competing for who can spend the most money on AI data center CapEx, okay? Amazon's cash, so they're going to be putting $200 billion in 2026, right? It would spend $200 billion in 2026, and this is going to go towards AI, CapEx, data center spend, all that stuff, right? And we're gonna talk about it, right? But Jassy said that there was strong demand for the company's existing offerings and seminal opportunities in areas such as AI, semiconductors, robotics, and low Earth orbit satellites, or LEOs, as they're known, low entry orbiting satellites. And while the company tried to ease investor concern by stating it anticipates strong long-term return on invested capital, shares still fell. Nonetheless, Amazon's cash is likely to make its way to several companies. One such potential beneficiary in all of this is going to be Marvell Technology, all right, which manufactures Amazon's Trainium processors. All right, so when we're talking about all these companies, right, these two in particular, Google spending 175 billion to 185 billion. Amazon's going to be spending what, 200 billion? Where do you think all that money is going to go, right? SMH. It's going to go to all the holdings in SMH, or some of the holdings, I should say. You know, companies like Marvell, some companies like ON, companies like NVIDIA, AMD, right? It's going to go to them. SMCI is probably wrapped in there somewhere, right, as a beneficiary, because all of this money that's going into building out data centers, increasing capacity, and all that stuff. I mean, who are the vendors for this stuff, right? You know, you have what's that one company? Corning, I think, is a company. They just came out and said they're focusing on their own AI hardware, because this is more of an industrial company. I think this is it, Corning. But this is not like a super, let's see. I think this might be it. Yeah, well, maybe not. This might be it. But anyways, Corning, they manufacture a lot of like fiber optic, right? A lot of fiber optic cables, stuff like that, like more industrial use stuff. But even they're getting involved in the AI trade, and their stock prices saw a dramatic increase. And again, but they're a beneficiary in all of this. So all that money that Google and Amazon are going to be spending, Meta is going to be spending, OpenAI is going to be spending, where do you think it's all going? Right? It's going to go to the semiconductor space. And then if you scroll just a little bit down further than that, we have memory, right? We talked about memory, SanDisk. You have SK Hynix. You also have Samsung Technology. You also have, what's that other company? Micron, right? Yeah, Micron. There's not enough memory to go around, right? Like NVIDIA is buying it all up. AMD is buying it all up. So there's not enough memory. So now you have a demand for these memory chips, right? These memory chips, and they're also going to be a benefactor in all of the spending. So again, I mean, look at Micron, just absolutely insane, right? 311. If you look at SanDisk, I think it's this is it, maybe not. SanDisk. If you look at SanDisk, SNDK, yeah, that's what it is. And if we look at the 1 year, up almost 1,200%. They had a nice little pullback. Ooh, that pullback was rough. Hey, I told you guys, man, that that upward trajectory is always met with a really steep decline. And look at that. Yep. But either way, I mean, it's still up and there's still a shortage of memory, right? So something to just keep in the back of your minds. All right. So don't again. And I bring this all back to all the FUD and everything we were hearing, right? When you do your own due diligence and you look under the hood and you look at a different perspective, you find out there's nothing wrong, right? Even though the share price might be not looking good right now, the thesis has not changed. Fundamentally, nothing has changed. You know, again, going back to the AI trade, why a lot of these AI companies are getting sold off is because software is taking a massive hit, right? Software is taking a massive hit. Anything to do with software is taking a hit. Last year, software was all the rage. Last year, it was the Palantirs, it was the Googles, the Adobes, the freaking CRM, it was the Salesforce, all those companies. You had the cybersecurity companies, you know, CrowdStrike. It was all the SaaS companies doing really, really well. And now they're all having their big sell-off, right? And now it's starting to look like this is going to be the semiconductor year, right? Maybe a level before that's going to be the memory and metals year, right? These could be the new themes for this year. So, yeah, Amazon again. When you hear this fear, doom, and gloom crap, especially on X, you know, because it's just a cesspool of opinions. Just do your own due diligence, guys. That's it. Don't feed into the fear. Don't just sell because some random dude on X with a huge following. As a matter of fact, you know what's scary? Let's see if I can find it. Let me see if I can pull it up. But what's scary is I was on X and I Googled, or I was looking up something, and there was like 50 accounts saying the same exact sentence. And it was like really, really, it just shows like it's a bot farm, right? It's a bot farm. And they're all saying the same thing because they're all trying to drive you to do one thing, right? Yeah, they're trying to increase followers, yada yada yada. But then you start looking at some of their responses, and of course, they're all ChatGPT generated. And you could tell when it's ChatGPT generated. I mean, it's like humans do not talk like this, right? It's pretty sad. Let me see if I can find it, if I can remember it. Let me see. I'm not going to find it. But yeah, it was like everything was just saying, they were all saying the same, like 2 or 3 lines. And I was like, yeah, this has got to be a bot farm. And there, there's people under there who are believing it. Like, oh yeah, I called that, or yeah, I sold all my MSTR. I'm done with this junk or whatever, or Bitcoin. I mean, pick your, pick your stock. It doesn't matter. Right. It's just, it's full of opinions and bots. So you got to be careful out there, guys. All right, let's see. There we go, right here. Boom. 53 and retired. You guys make bank. You guys can make bank. Just keep investing smartly. That's the goal, man. That's the goal. Yeah, man. Like that's really it. That's really it, man. I want everybody, of course I want everybody to win. Like there's enough money to go around, right? We print this money like it's going out of style. There's enough money to go around. I don't need to gatekeep or hide stuff, hide like like, oh no, this is my secret stock or something like that. Like everybody can win, right? This is you could have a community of people that just want to at least grow wealth. So when there's people who are super negative and they come into the space, or they come into the, into the arena and they just start bashing every little thing. Like I cannot deal with. I absolutely hate that type of mentality. I hate that type of mindset, because 1, you're probably just showing insecurity. 2, you probably are cooked just like everybody else, and you just don't want to admit it. So, everybody can win, man. Everybody can win. It doesn't have to be what is it, a zero-sum game. All right, let's listen in on what is this? Sacramucci, I think his name is. So he runs a fund, and we're gonna listen to him talk about Bitcoin. So let's get into it, guys.
Let's bring in Anthony Scaramucci. He is founder and managing partner of Skybridge Capital. Anthony, it's good to see you. Nice ride we've had in the last little while here. You know, it's interesting to kind of list the fact that we now have a favorable regulatory regime that's preceded by the fact that, of course, institutionalization has occurred. The ETFs are everywhere. It's almost as if crypto Bitcoin bulls got most of what they wanted, and I don't know what to do with it.
Well, listen, there was a moment of euphoria last fall when Bitcoin got to its all-time high. I turned to one of my partners and said, we'll likely get to 200,000, but my guess is we'll test 70,000 before we get there. And he looked at me like I was crazy, but that's the nature of Bitcoin. This is still a very early adopting asset. I've been on CNBC for the last 5 years talking about Bitcoin, never calling it an inflation hedge, never calling it a dollar substitute or digital gold, but calling it an early adopting technical asset that has money-like characteristics and gold-like characteristics. But if you look at the demographics around Bitcoin, Michael, they're still young demographics. And so when you had debasement fears coming into this year, you saw the rally in gold and silver. That's because the older people have the money and they believe in gold and silver, and they're still not quite there with Bitcoin. And so one of the real gatekeepers here is the Clarity Act. I think there's a lot of fence sitters, institutions, commercial banks, and otherwise that are really not going to move on Bitcoin until they get clarity from the U.S. government. And so I think it's a coin toss now whether or not that gets approved. Some of the Democratic senators I've spoken to say that it will, but I think that's one of the big gating factors here. And this is typical volatility for Bitcoin.
Anthony, why is it, though, typical volatility for Bitcoin when there's been so much change to theoretical change to who holds it, with institutions coming in, with ETFs, with the rise of digital asset treasury companies? Why isn't there more stability? Why does this look like a run-of-the-mill Bitcoin pullback that we've seen over the past, 10, 15 years?
Well, Melissa, I actually think it's been masked somewhat. I actually think the declines, if you look at the 4-year cycles in Bitcoin, the decline could theoretically be deeper. If you just did a map of those 4-year cycles, you were looking at a retest somewhere at the 38,000 level. Now, it did hit yesterday the 200-day moving average, and it seems to have held there. I also like the fact that the fear greed index, which is from 0 to 100, you're at 5 right now, which is like one of the lowest indicators that we've had in the history of Bitcoin. So there's overwhelming fear. But I think we've actually had a softer, believe it or not, Bitcoin correction as a result of strategy, the ETFs, some institutional buying. But remember, this trades on its last trade based on liquidity or illiquidity. And I'll take you guys back to October 10th. Lots of circuit breakers tripped at Binance. It was something like $28 billion liquidated very quickly. And it does look like somebody got blown out or margin called over the last week. I mean, you had a 25% drop in Bitcoin and today a 9 or 10% rise. So yeah, it's a garden variety correction for Bitcoin. We're still bullish. I frankly bought more Bitcoin yesterday. I intend on buying more Bitcoin next week. But
I mean, look at these guys. Look at these jumps on the 200-day, right? And look how bad this dip was. Like, this is a pretty bad dip. Hell yeah, I'm buying. Hell yeah, I'm buying. I'm getting this. I'm getting these coins, man. This digital nonsense. I'm getting it. For sure I am. But anyways, yeah, that's coming from him, right? So just a lot of noise in the market, right? Obviously, the longs are getting destroyed. People who were, yeah, just it looks like a lot of people were getting destroyed. But there was some stuff happening in the background. I don't know if you guys were keeping up with all of what was going on. I was posting this in the Discord, but I'm going to show you guys an actual live, right? So this is Arkham. In case you guys don't know what Arkham is, it's just a platform. I rarely use it, but it's always nice to look at, especially when things are getting really spicy. Because you can see who's putting money in, who's taking money out. Okay. If we look at the top flows for Bitcoin, okay, this is a live website. You guys can see here, there's not a screenshot. If you look at the top flows, and if we look at the outflows over the 1 week, you see Binance right here. Let's see. You see Binance right here. getting out $7.7 billion. You have Coinbase getting out $4.4 billion, right? Then you have 2 billion here, 1.5 billion, a couple other billions going down, right? But then you look at who was putting money in, who was putting money back in, and this was the inflows. You had over the last week, same time frame, you had Binance putting in $8.23 billion. All right. You had Coinbase buying back $4.43 billion. Okay. These are single wallets, guys. These are not like, you know, are like retail investor wallets. Maybe they are. Maybe some of these are whales. I doubt it. But anyways, this was circulating, right? This was manufactured for 100%. This was manufactured, right? These companies are dropping the price of Bitcoin, right? They're getting rid of all the leverage longs. They're just wrecking them, liquidating all these investors, bringing the price of Bitcoin down as far as possible. I think it's going to go down a little bit more. I think this is a dead cat bounce back up to 70. I think it's going to end somewhere around like the 58 range. Some are calling for about 34 to 37,000 a coin. Either way, you know, you see the big freaking players in the space selling out and then buying back in cheaper. Okay. This was completely manufactured. So again, when you see everyone freaking out, the sky is falling, everything else, just know Binance is buying your cheaper coins, right? Binance is buying your coins that you're selling or your Satoshis, right? Same thing with Coinbase, Kraken, etc. Okay. Over the last 24 hours, you can see a lot of people buying back in. Okay. Inflows. You have some wallets right here. A single wallet put in $364 million. Okay. These are wallets probably for whales, etc. Maybe treasury companies. I don't know. Right. We don't really know unless you do some of the research on these coins. I don't have the time for that, but you guys can see here, a lot of people are buying back in. And on that same token, we had a lot of, you know, very notable people saying that they're buying back in. Okay. Let's see. You had Grant Cardone. If you guys don't know who Grant Cardone is a real estate mogul. He runs the 10X conference. He wrote a bunch of books. You know, I forget all the books. I read some of them. But yes, Grant Cardone, very, very rich guy. He's a billionaire. I think he has like $4 to $5 billion in assets under management as far as like real estate. He runs a sales company. He runs a REIT, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, he's done pretty well for himself. And this dude, he is selling his jet, right? Some people were like, nah, this is fake. This ain't real, right? Like Bitcoin is crashing. So I have to say bye to the love of my life. Tough choice. 2024 Bombardier Global 7500 or 7500 loaded 5-year warranty, full program, blah, 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 blah. Right. So he, you know, some people are like, oh, this is fake. He's just, you know, he's trolling, you know, come to find out him and his brother, if I'm not mistaken, I heard his brother, I didn't even know he had a brother up until late last year, but him and his brother, they have a family Bitcoin treasury. Like, think about that for a second. Him and his brother run a family Bitcoin treasury, right? Like, that is a crazy, crazy concept that wealthy, well-to-do individuals have these have Bitcoin treasuries as part of their portfolio. So I thought that was rather interesting. But if we also look, is he actually selling his jet? And the answer is yes. This is right here on Controller, right? This is Controller where you could, you know, buy planes. You know, this is like the Craigslist for planes, right? His plane is listed right here. So he ain't joking, guys. He is not joking about selling his jet. If a billionaire is saying that he's selling his jet to buy Bitcoin, what does that tell you, right? What does that mean? I mean, maybe he's just a retail investor like the rest of us, or maybe, you know, he's in with the other elites that are buying stuff. You had, you know, posts like Andrew Tate come out, love him or hate him. He said he's also buying 200 million worth of Bitcoin. He bought at the bottom. I think it was like around 64K when he made that announcement. So again, rich, well-to-do people are buying in Bitcoin. So when I hear that, you know, when I see on X and YouTube and everything else, oh, Bitcoin is trash, it's going to zero, blah, blah, blah. You know, I was right. I told you guys this was fake. You should sell your Bitcoin. I mean, unless you're $2 billion, unless you have $2 to $4 billion, or at least a couple $100 million, don't take this the wrong way. But I'm gonna probably listen to the people who are actually putting their money where their mouth is. So just my thoughts on that is all. Just my thoughts on that. Of course, do your own due diligence, etc. But what else was interesting is he also put up his mansion for sale. Okay, neighbor listed for 88 million. I'm listing my home for 700 Bitcoin. All right, let the neighbor take more fiat. I'm still better off 4 years from now. This still leaves me 20 million in profit for the buyer of my home. My wife is the broker. This house will sell for 7 bedrooms, 6-car garage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right. I didn't have a chance to actually look this up, where it's at. But I guess this is the listing right here. Wow. All right, there we go. But boom, there you go. Right. He's selling his damn house so he could buy more Bitcoin. I'm not worried about Bitcoin going to zero. I'm really not that worried about Bitcoin going to zero. Unless Satoshi's wallet gets drained and unless MicroStrategy, whatever you want to call them, sells all their Bitcoin, I'm not all that worried, to be perfectly honest. And a lot of the doom, fear, doom, and gloom out there is just nonsense. All right, so let's listen in on Tom Lee. I know he's been taking a lot of flack. He's been getting hit the hardest, man. My poor boy Tom over here has just been getting wrecked. And I mean, like, people posting him with McDonald uniform. I mean, he posted the photo himself. He doesn't take himself that serious. But my boy Tom Lee over here is just getting wrecked with BMNR and Ethereum. So let's listen in on what he had to say.
And CNBC contributor, FundStrat's Tom Lee, who's so timely to speak with, not only for Dow 50K and the jump back in tech, but also as the chairman of BitMine. Tom, I know you're watching what's taking place in crypto. We're talking about a 7-month low for the stock of BitMine. The Ethereum paper losses, $8 billion. Is this in jeopardy of going into a pretty dark place?
Hi, Scott. Thanks for having me. BitMine is designed to be a vehicle that tracks Ethereum prices, but on the upswing, because we're adding Ethereum, will outperform. So Ethereum's in drawdown. BitMine's going to be in this drawdown spot. BitMine has no leverage. It has roughly 4.3 million Ethereum that earns 3% annually. And we have 600 million cash earning about 4% in money markets.
All right, listen, this is for BMNR. He just said that he's staking his Ethereum, or not all of it, but some of his Ethereum that's producing money, okay, passive cash flows. And he also has 600 million in the bank earning whatever the interest rate is. BMNR is making money from money just sitting, right, from Ethereum. Whereas Bitcoin, for strategy, they don't make any money, right? They don't stake their Bitcoin or anything, right? But BMNR, because of Ethereum and the way it's built and the staking rewards for it, they can do it, right? So just again, keep that in mind. People are freaking out that Ethereum's going down and Bitmine's going down. Tom Lee is a con artist. Same story, right? Same exact garbage with MSTR. Ponzi scheme, et cetera, blah, 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 right? Not fully understanding what the hell BMNR actually is. Again, people need to watch the chairman's message, what their mission is, right? How fast they're doing it. They got to they're trying to get to 5% Ethereum of the network, right? They're already at 68%. They were projecting it was going to take them, a couple of years, and they've already 68% of the way there in the first year. Okay. So yeah, does it suck that BMNR is down by a lot? Does it suck when he announced, a moonshot investment into Mr. Beast Industries? Not exactly what I had on my bingo card, but again, I mean, the fundamental stuff, right? I invested in BMNR because of it's an Ethereum proxy. It's an Ethereum treasury, right? Ethereum has utility versus a lot of these other treasury companies that are coming out for like Doge, one for like Shiba Inu. That you have treasury companies that are coming out with just these altcoins that no one's really paying attention to. Will the strategy work? I have no idea. But if I'm going to go with two crypto coins, me personally, it's going to be Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's not going to be Litecoin. Some people are saying Litecoin is the silver of it's the silver of crypto, right? It's the silver. It's right below Bitcoin. I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know that much about Litecoin. I did own Litecoin way back when, and I bought that on pure hype and speculation. But anyways, let's continue listening in.
So the company is making about $1 million a day. So there is no risk, no need for the company to actually raise money because it's debt-free and actually generates about $360 million a year in net income. I think crypto sentiment is rock bottom because it has been a terrible drawdown. I mean, just the past 10 days, Ethereum's down 40%. And that's triggered, I think, a lot of concerns about whether crypto is even viable. But, all of those statements that I just heard from just a minute ago, I heard the same thing in November 2022 after FTX. And that's the reality, that crypto is sort of characterized by hypervolatility and big drawdowns. I mean, just in the last 8 years, Ethereum's had 7 drawdowns of 60% or more. The good news is 7 of those were all V-shaped recoveries. So we had a waterfall decline. If crypto's bottoming now, which it kind of looks like it is, especially given MicroStrategy's 25% move, the recoveries are V-shaped. So we recover as quickly as we've fallen.
Just want to follow up on that. Where you suggest there's no risk to the company, is that assumption that Ethereum has stopped going down, that this is a bottom? If there is what some have predicted to be a coming quote unquote death spiral for certain cryptocurrencies, if the situation with Ethereum gets worse, what happens here?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a fair question. I think we can look at metrics, for instance. If you look at the number of active addresses on Ethereum, it's up 117% versus a year ago. In fact,
active Ethereum addresses, wallets, right, are up 100% plus since last year. That's huge, right? That's pretty big in my opinion. It means more people are opening these Ethereum based wallets, right? Buying Ethereum, right? So yeah, I think that's really, really interesting, really important, especially if you're, again, bullish on something like an Ethereum. So even though we're in this drawdown period, I mean, that's not enough that shouldn't be enough to scare me out of my BMNR shares, or even if I held Ethereum, whether ETF or actual coin, that would not be enough for me to sell out, right? A drawdown like this. Is it scary? Is it crappy? Especially if you bought like up here and you're seeing this, 50% decline, 60% decline. Yeah, it does suck. But I mean, this is Bitcoin. This is crypto. Like crypto has these really intense drawdowns, these really crazy volatile, like it can't, people love when it goes up. People love when Bitcoin and Ethereum go up, right? It's easy to feel happy at that point. It's just when it goes down, right, that people start to forget why they even bought the darn thing. So just keep that in mind.
Just the last 3 months, that's actually gone up parabolically. As you know, coming out of Davos, what was the big story around what Wall Street plans to do? It's tokenization, which is moving a lot of their financial infrastructure onto the blockchain, Scott. That's
boom. Davos. You guys remember that, right? The Davos conference where all the global elitists go to, right? You had countries, representatives over there. The United States is there basically to reorient and tell the world what, this is how it's going to go. Talks about Greenland came up. But if you were listening to, there was more conversations over there. And I didn't have a chance to really go through a lot of this stuff. But you had, you had NVIDIA over there. You had David Sachs over there, Donald Trump's crypto czar. You had a lot of people over there, and there was conversations around Bitcoin and crypto and, Ethereum and tokenization, right? That is the next wave. Everybody in the world who's in the finance sector is talking about this stuff. So again, there's so many tailwinds for this. There's so many tailwinds, but people still want to get on X or YouTube and say the sky's falling, right? Or shout out to everybody that, BMNR is going to implode on itself, or MSTR is going to implode on itself. I mean, how can it when the whole world's talking about these things?
That's not going to change just because crypto prices have fallen. But what is the blockchain that is evident, listed, named by whether it's UBS, Standard Chartered, or Fidelity, where they're tokenizing products, it's on Ethereum. So Ethereum is not in a death spiral because the utility is going up. The price, of course, has been awful. Unfortunately, crypto prices are volatile. It's not like earnings estimates change for Ethereum. In fact, network usage is up 80% in just the last 6 months.
So I'm going to end it there, but one big important thing that I heard that I think is important to talk about. So Ethereum, right? This is coming from Lynn Alden, right? Because she was asked, basically the question was, why would Wall Street or these major institutions moving on to the Ethereum blockchain, right? Why would that be bullish for Ethereum, right? And her response was actually really good. She was saying that the NASDAQ, right? The NASDAQ, the S&P 500, whatever. Well, let's talk about the NASDAQ, right? Yeah, it was the NASDAQ. So even though there could be, $15 million worth or $15 trillion worth of value on the NASDAQ, it does not mean that the stock itself, the NASDAQ, is worth 15 trillion, right? So I thought that was a really good analogy or a really good example. So even though all of this money could move onto the Ethereum blockchain, does that translate automatically to Ethereum going up? Right. So that point has stuck with me because that was the question I had for a very long time is all these companies moving on to blockchain tech. Is there a world or is there a case for that increasing the price of Ethereum, right? The Ethereum token. And that I have not found an answer to. So, that is probably, a data point could be a bear case, right? Someone could, try to expand on that and say like, this is, they're just going to use the technology. This has nothing to do with the Ethereum coin. Ethereum coin is going to go to zero, blah, 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 right? But the technology underneath Ethereum, that is what is so important. You have a lot of companies, a lot of financial institutions, banks, et cetera, all moving onto that blockchain. Tokenization of securities is coming. That is also a big deal. All right. So I just wanted to share that again. We're moving through this stuff. So we had NVIDIA. We're not going to listen to that one. There was also something important in case you guys missed it. So Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he had a hearing, right? In this hearing, they're asking him a bunch of questions. There was a piece in here where Senator Loomis was talking about the Clarity Act, okay? And questioning Scott Bessent on basically this Clarity Act. And I think we should listen in on this. This hearing, I listened to the whole thing. There was some really important, I don't have the clips. I don't have all the clips, but there was some important stuff that people could go back and listen to and reference because what Scott Bessent was mentioning, because there was also something else in there, right? Something about China moving towards tokenization as well, moving onto a blockchain. They've been acquiring a lot of gold. And, they were talking about moving or creating a digital token for this gold as well. So you have China, but it's not obviously it's going to be a completely separate financial system. Now, Senator or Scott Bessent had replied that, they don't have any credible intelligence saying that is the case. It's more so still a rumor at this point. So if that does happen in the future, again, looking bigger picture, financial warfare between two countries. We covered this in the last stream that I talked about, where we had, Ray Dalio's video basically saying that China and the United States are coming into a head. You already have the United States moving towards stablecoin adoption, right? And that's what China could do, but backed by gold, right? Tether, you have Tether gold out there. So a lot of stuff is happening, but in the bigger picture, in the broader world. Let's listen in on this hearing real quick. All right. Again, love them, hate them, red, blue, Democrat, Republican. I don't give a damn. All right. I care about what they're saying. This is probably the best insider information you're going to get. Right. So let's listen in.
What is your opinion about the importance of having clear rules of the road, market structure legislation in the United States?
Look, I think that it's impossible to proceed without it. We have to get this Clarity Act across the finish line, and any market participants who don't want it should move to El Salvador.
he was referencing Brian Armstrong, because Brian Armstrong, if you don't know, he's the Coinbase CEO. He's the one who basically did not support the current Clarity Act in its current draft. And that's what stopped the Clarity Act from getting signed, because he didn't support it. And the reason was because, a lot of these banks, they're basically trying to cut away, if I remember correctly, they're trying to cut away the reward system that stablecoins can give. So anyways, Brian Armstrong didn't support the bill. Then they basically didn't have a hearing on it. They didn't vote on it or anything like that. So now, the Clarity Act is basically still up in the air, still waiting to get voted on. So Treasury Secretary over here is saying that, hey, if you don't like it in its current form, you can leave, right? You can go somewhere else. But also along with that, right, there's the quote, it's better to have no bill than a bad bill, right? And this is for the Clarity Act. So you guys might have heard that already. It's better to have no bill than a bad bill. So anyways, let's continue listening in.
So as a industry, what is the benefit to having this industry embedded in the U.S. economy?
Well, again, as I said, that there seem to be people who want to live in the U.S. but not have rules for this important industry, and we've got to bring safe, sound, and smart practices and the oversight of the U.S. government, but also allow for the freedom that is crypto. And I think it's a balance that is being worked out. It was worked out in the Genius Act, and I'm confident with leadership of people on both sides of the aisle that we can get clarity across the line this year.
Can you see a day when conventional banks and digital asset banking are offering the same types of products, giving each an advantage to offering a broader array of financial products to the American consumer?
I think that can happen over time, and we've actually been working with small and community banks to discuss how they can be part of the digital asset revolution also.
Imagine just walking into a community bank and they're going to start having like crypto, stablecoin, offerings, ads, saying you're going to earn interest on this, don't go with a money market account, go with a stablecoin account, put your money in this, in a, I don't know, Bank of America token. Well, it's not really a small, community bank, but, ABC community bank, right? Put your money in the ABC community bank stablecoin. It'll earn you this much interest, right? Because again, all stablecoins are backed by U.S. Treasuries. U.S. Treasuries, they pay out a dividend, right? So that money has to go to somewhere. So fascinating times, guys. Fascinating times. All right, so I wanted to share that. Let's see what else we got over here. So I should have probably front run this clip because we were talking so much about MSTR earlier. But again, I'm gonna go over it anyways because I know a lot of people probably are interested in this. If you did not watch the earnings call, I'm going to show you guys a couple of parts. But this was the stuff that really I was like, oh, okay. I'm not gonna lie, it was getting spicy on Thursday. I was like, man, this really sucks. Like maybe I missed this one, right? I don't care that MSTR or Bitcoin is going down after watching this. Like it does not scare me one bit. Let's listen in real quick on a couple of these key points. Okay. So this is Phong Le. He's the actual CEO of Strategy. They didn't even really talk about Strategy, the Power BI company, business intelligence company, the software that they have. They really didn't talk about it at all. This whole earnings call was everything about Bitcoin. And, I think they did that for a couple of reasons. One, that software business, it's like whatever at this point. It's not the story for Strategy. Even though they use it, right? They kind of use it as a shell company because that's what keeps them on the indexes. That's what the whole fight with MSCI was about, was that they're looking more like a fund than an actual company. But, Michael Saylor, Phong Le, other people were saying, no, it's an actual operating company that just utilizes a digital asset treasury strategy, right? And holds Bitcoin. So to me, in my opinion, it's obviously it's not even the main story anymore, right? Strategy, the software company, they can't spin off Strategy, the software business, and create something else like Strategy 2 or something. They can't do that because then they're going to get kicked off the indexes 100%. So they have to keep that software business. But anyways, this whole presentation had everything to do with Bitcoin and how they're doing. So we're looking at right now the Bitcoin reserve, how much money they actually have, right? And how much is their dividend. So let's take a listen in. Again, we covered this already at the beginning, but I want you guys to listen to the actual CEO talk about this stuff. Again, I should have front run this when I was talking about MSTR, so I apologize.
Of course, we have this Bitcoin reserve, and what does it really do for us? It creates long-term durability. That's why we've been building it up. That's why we've added about 16% over the last 9 months to our Bitcoin reserve. It gives us long-term durability to issue more credit, ultimately. And as we issue more credit, the dividends will rise. Our dividends, as Andrew explained, $888 million. We have 67 years of dividend coverage with our Bitcoin reserve. If Bitcoin goes up 1.5% a year, that's our break-even ARR. We could just sell the incremental Bitcoin that we get, not that that's what we'll do, to pay our dividends. So we don't need a large increase in Bitcoin price to be able to service our dividends primarily through Stretch. Next slide. Our US dollar reserve, which I'm very happy we put in place in Q4 and solidified in Q1, is $2.25 billion. That's 30 months of dividend coverage, 2.5 years of dividend coverage. So if we were not able to raise capital, which we've shown that we've been able to do through equity issuances, we could sit here, do nothing, and pay off our dividends over or satisfy our dividends over 30 months using this reserve. Next slide.
Yeah. So we're not going to go over the rest of that one. Let's go back to this slide real fast. People seem to forget that Strategy is also launching a European ETF or a European stock that it's like one of their own perpetuals, but for the European market, if I'm not mistaken. MSTR European preferred share, I think. Let me look at it. Yes. So yeah, they called it Stream. All right. So and it did pretty well. All right. It did pretty well. Again, this is just more proof that, MSTR, Monster, Mr., whatever you want to call it, is just it's going to launch more into the world, more into the global markets, offering this, this instrument, this preferred stock. That is going to give them more money. They're going to be able to raise more money. And then with that money, with that capital, they're going to, what do you think they're going to do with that? They're going to buy more Bitcoin, right? That's it. That is all they're doing. That is their sole focus. Their core focus is to raise money and buy Bitcoin. And they're going to do it in a number of ways. And this is just for the European market. Okay. What happens when it breaches in, if it does breach into the Asian markets, right? Or other markets out there. So again, this is why it's real financial engineering that MicroStrategy or Strategy is doing. I think it's really smart. I've never seen anything like this. Of course, I'm still fairly new. I'm still, I still have my training wheels on as far as like, I guess being a amateur investment commentary kind of person. But I've never seen this from any other company. Usually they issue out bonds, right? That was the traditional route. They would issue out bonds and then that's how they raise cash. You see that with Oracle, you see that with Meta in recent history. You've seen them raising a ton of cash and they're doing it through the bond market. So anyways, going back to this, there was another point in here, which I thought was really interesting. Where is it? And it's this, right? So right now, on the left, and I think this is hilarious that he did this. On the left, this is all of the FUD that's been lobbied against MSTR. And this is Michael Saylor talking, all right? This is all of the FUD that they've defeated. Functionality FUD for Bitcoin, Ponzi scheme FUD for Bitcoin / MSTR, volatility FUD, critical bug, illicit activity, regulatory FUD, just go down the list. Scalability FUD, governance FUD, storage blow, energy climate FUD, right? Remember that? Remember when everyone was like talking about, it takes too much energy to mine Bitcoin, right? Too much energy. It costs too much to mine Bitcoin. Therefore, it's not even worth it. And these companies are losing a lot of money, which is, more or less not even true, not the case. Energy, and again, that's adding on to, climate, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, wealth concentration FUD, nation state attack FUD, crypto FUD, paper Bitcoin FUD, right? When IBIT was launched and FBTC by Fidelity, there's all that FUD surrounding it, right? And then quantum FUD is the new one. So quantum FUD is the new one. And, I don't know too much about quantum, right? I know it's supposed to be the next wave of compute, right? That's going to be the next, right? It's going to infinitely probably make AI far more efficient, right? Once you factor in quantum in the future, right? But quantum also has this this ability to be able to crack or crack Bitcoin, right? Crack the network, crack security protocols. Is that the case? Can that happen? Probably, right? But right now it's FUD. Right now that is FUD because it's still about a decade out. And between now and then, there could be massive updates to the security for Bitcoin, the security for Bitcoin wallets, et cetera. So again, that's just another big piece of FUD, right? That's just another big piece of FUD. That keeps coming out. And I just thought that was really interesting. I thought that was cool that he listed all of these because I remember a bunch of these, right? I remember a bunch of these. So yeah, he's just talking more again about, the preferred shares that he has out there, right? This is how much money he's raised. 1 billion for Strike and Stride, 1 billion for Stream, 1 billion for Strife, 3 billion for Stretch. Okay. They've been able to raise money and they take that money and, you guessed it, they go out and buy more Bitcoin. Okay. So for those who are, worried about Bitcoin, I really recommend you guys take a look at this earnings call. It is really interesting to look at. I keep saying interesting, but it really is because it gives you an idea. So Bitcoin's, CAGR, compound annual growth rate, is between 27 and 30%. I mean, guys, look at this, right? I mean, it's crazy. Yes, it does have these crazy drawdowns from a strategy MSTR perspective. Unless Bitcoin goes to zero, they're not getting liquidated. Period. They're not getting liquidated. So, anyways, I just wanted to share that, because again, there was still so much FUD out there, and I just wanted to put that to bed for myself. All right. But anyways, again, and I appreciate you guys, putting in the comments, again, I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other. I'm just sharing what I found, whether you love them or hate them, strategy, Michael Saylor or Bitcoin, love it or hate it, there's the data, right? There's the numbers. There it is, right? If you don't have to be bullish on it, you can not like it. It's perfectly fine, right? There's a lot of people I know that don't own Bitcoin. They don't even want to touch Bitcoin, right? There's a lot of bears out there that say it's going to zero. One way or another, we're going to find out who was right? One way or the other, we're going to find out who was right. So anyways, let's talk about the sector rotation, right? So shout out to Padre, Tungsten Tiger, Victor, right? All those names, all those aliases. He posted this in the Discord. And I think this is a really interesting kind of chart, right? It tells you the sector rotation, where money is going, where money is leaving. All right. We know that information tech has been getting destroyed these last couple of months, right? Amazon sold off, Microsoft selling off, Palantir, they did well, but they still had to sell off. Like, even though these hyperscalers, these software companies are putting up really good numbers, they're still selling off, right? And it's just a rotation, probably a re-rating of the stock or of the company. Maybe it's investors de-risking. I don't know. There's 100 things that could be happening, but energy is up. Energy is doing really well. XLE, I think up to date is doing pretty well. Let me double check that. XLE ETF. XLE year to date is up 16, almost 17%, right? 16.65%. So energy is doing really, really well, right? And we can see the rotation it gets crazier and crazier, right? You have materials, energy, and consumer staples, right? So this is why your SCHD is doing so well year to date. Okay. So yeah, there is a rotation to more safe safer assets, more, more stability, I guess, safer assets, things that actually produce something, right? Whereas, the software companies are getting absolutely destroyed this year. So again, we have right here, we have industrials doing well as well and then again, for the 1 month, again, energy, consumer staples, materials, industrials are leading the way. For the last 5 days, you had a huge rotation out of communication services, consumer discretionary, and infotech. All right, going into, again, these top 3 or 4. So again, you guys can see it. You guys can plan accordingly. Maybe this gives you an idea of what to look at. I saw a really interesting chart for energy. If let's pull it up right here, because I think I need to get like TradingView or something so I could show you guys this, but I don't even know how to use TradingView. So, but over the max, you guys see this really big spike, right? So the video I was watching was saying that this is going to grow exponentially more because this is the breakout. This is the breakout. If you look at all these all-time highs, right? Old all-time highs. This right here is the breakout for the energy sector. So you can look at the individual energy companies, right? And see which ones might be interesting to you. You can open up the ETF and look at the holdings, right? It's a good start, right? This is State Street. So they kind of already took the guesswork out of which companies, that they are interested in. So again, they already did a lot of the work for you. But looking at this, again, what is causing this? What is causing this, this huge spike up? You still have data centers. Again, I keep talking about data centers. I know you guys are sick of it, but it's data centers, right? It's all this you just saw. I just talked about it. You have Amazon and Google spending $200 billion roughly between each other, or well, both. I think Google's 175 to 185. Yeah, there it is right there. And then Amazon is spending upwards of 200 billion on data center capex, et cetera. And guess what needs to power all of that? You can't have it. You have a data center without power, right? So that is when something like this, starts to look really good. The story starts to look really good for power companies. Of course, you can look down a level below that, and then you start looking at, the metals, the rare earths, the critical minerals, et cetera, and you guys can come to your own conclusion there. But when I saw that podcast and he was talking about this, I think it was Compound and Friends. Look that up. Really, really good podcast. But when I looked at it, I was like, holy crap, that is pretty crazy. And this is fitting that theme, right? This is fitting the theme of, this crazy super cycle, this AI spend, data center capex, government super cycle. Money is just going to be flying like there's no tomorrow. So this is why I'm bullish. Like, even though we might potentially have this really bad correction that's coming up, 15, 20%, whatever it's supposed to be, whenever we get hit with it, we're only going to go up. There's so much damn tailwind. And we still have the Fed, even though, Warsh was picked, right? He wasn't nominated. Don't get that twisted, guys. All right. Trump said that's his pick. But between now and when Warsh is in the seat and confirmed by the Senate or Congress or whatever, he's just a name. There's this new narrative out there that, oh, no. It's, there's another runner coming up. I forget her name. But she was also in the running. And it's possible that Warsh can actually, not be the actual Fed, right? That, even though Trump had picked Warsh, he could change his mind between now and when the Jerome Powell gets kicked out. So this is going to be one hell of a year, guys. Absolute one hell of a year. I'm all for it. It sucks. Last Thursday, don't get me wrong. Last Thursday, atrocious, scary as hell, right? Nobody likes a down market. Nobody likes seeing red in their portfolio. But there's just so much good tailwind. And we still have QE, the possibility of quantitative easing happening this year, the possibility of more interest rate cuts. Guys, you guys connect the dots. I mean, Project Vault was just launched on Friday. Project Vault was it Project Vault on Friday or was that Thursday? I can't remember the exact day. But you have Project Vault that was announced, and it's basically the United States partnering with a bunch of partners for mining, right? For mining, metals, all that stuff. Guys, there's just so much bullishness in the air. I hate to say it. So let's see. Let's see. Just looking at the comments. Yes, that's the name. Well, so from Alan, they're generating their own YGV, and Cat and other generator companies have been doing so well. There you guys go. Couple tickers right there to take a look at. All right, and then we have Judy Shelton. Yes, that's the name. That's the name. Yes, appreciate that, Padre. So yes, Judy Shelton was the other name. Briefly looked at her. I started seeing her names coming up on X. I was like, who the hell is this? I've never seen this name. And yeah, she was actually in the run for the pick. So again, between now and when the hearings start and the nomination starts, like all of this stuff is kind of fugazi, right? Trump can change his mind. He changes his mind so much. So we'll see if he changes his mind on that. Okay. All right. So moving on, just wanted to cover that. Let's see. We covered the Grant Cardone stuff. Let's check in on the Super Bowl. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. New England Patriots coming up, man. I don't know who you guys gonna think's gonna win. Let's get a poll start. I gotta end this poll. Hold on. It's gonna win. Let's get. All right. So we started at the beginning of this stream. All right. Did you buy the Bitcoin dip? All right. And we had 57% of you say hell yeah. We had 20% of you say I'm waiting for a bigger dip. And then we had 23% of you say I don't buy fake digital money. So I'm going to go with the 57%. I actually did buy the dip when Bitcoin dipped, right? And I'm hoping that it dips a little bit more because I want a bigger dip. I want to buy more, IBIT. Again, right now I'm sitting on about 1.17 worth of Bitcoin in IBIT shares. I would love to get, my whole goal this year was to get to 2 Bitcoin. I was thinking it was going to take me all year, but if we have a bigger dip and some of those planets line up, I'm definitely walking away with 2 Bitcoin probably in the first quarter, or probably easily within the first half of 2026. Again, I'm super bullish on Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoin maxi, obviously, because I own the ETF, right? I don't believe in the romance that, Bitcoin is going to be the digital reserve currency of the world, right? I don't believe in that one bit just for right now. Yes, it does make sense, but I just don't believe in it. But I like Bitcoin. I just really, really like Bitcoin. I've used it again to transfer money. I've seen how fast it is. It is really, really nice versus like an ACH transfer, or even like, a Western Union, right? Like that stuff, you get killed on fees there. You really do get killed on fees. Let's see. So, whoops. Oh, that's why. There we go. Increase your gold holdings equally to your Bitcoin increase. That's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I've thought about that. I really have thought about that. I've thought about having just gold, Bitcoin, and just a bunch of random crap in the portfolio. I really did think about that. If I do that, I don't know. I don't know, man. But I really do like the idea. I could have like a couple miners in there, some of the conviction picks or metal ETFs, and then of course my software stuff, I know Roundhill is taking a lot of flack here. I know the, Palantir is getting beat up, Nvidia is getting beat up, Robinhood's getting beat up. I'm still bullish on all 3 of those companies. All right. Even though the ETFs have been down, someone asked me in the Discord, they were like, oh, how down are you on PLTW or NVDW? And I said 20% more than than what the underliers are, right? Just a little bit more. And I mean, it's true. It is true. I mean, because they're just leveraged ETFs. So I'm still in them. I still haven't sold out of them. I don't know when or if I will sell out of them. I don't have plans to get out of them at the moment. Yes, I'm still holding WPay for those who are wondering. I'm sure that always comes up. Yes, I still hold WPay. Okay. So, man, guys, we covered so much. I've been blabbing on for about an hour. It's time for you guys to blab on. All right. It's time for you guys. If any of you guys want to get in on this. So real quick, Skeptic had put in the chat. Can you guys see this? Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Skeptic had put in the chat this ETF. And I saw some of you guys talking about it in the Discord. I didn't even have a chance to look at it. And I know super straight guy doesn't like anything that pays under a penny. So I saw that and I was kind of laughing. He's like, oh, if it's not 100% yield, I don't want to hear about it. So let's look at this thing real quick. And while I do that, in case, all right, and this is a completely optional for you guys, in case anyone wants to get on. And again, you could talk about anything you got going on, anything happening in your side of the world, your investment portfolio. Maybe it's something you want to bring up. Maybe it's an ETF you want to take a look at, right? Hop on and we can take a look, or you can just keep it in the chat, right? Let's see. Oh, so this is the peer or the Pacer Cash Cows 100 NASDAQ 100 Rotator ETF. God. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's see. An objective rules-based strategy that is evaluated on a monthly basis to determine the rotation between the Pacer US Cash Cows 100 Index, NASDAQ 100, provide diversified exposure. Can you guys see this? I hope so. I'm trying to zoom in without like... Okay, I hope this is good enough for you guys. Let's see. Deliver long-term capital appreciation by holding value growth companies, etc. Rotate between growth and value tax efficiently using an ETF wrapper. That's interesting. So it rotates. Okay, so NASDAQ 100 index and then the Pacer US Cash Cows 100 index. So it's rotating between two different indexes. Okay. So how often do they rotate? Is it monthly, like a monthly rebalance, a monthly rotation? So Farouk says, I've got 3,000 USD in IAUI stock, which is from Neos. It's their Neos gold ETF. So that's, yeah, people have been really happy with that one. Okay, so Skeptic basically said it's literally doing everything that we do individually just in one ETF. So people who rotate in and out of positions, this basically does it for you. I know of another ETF that also does something like that, right? What they do, and this sounds like a great idea. What they do is they have all the strategies for trading and they put it into this one ETF wrapper, right? Now stay with me. Now they pick the most volatile stocks and they do options trading on it. I think it was called like Ulti or something. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Let me stop, man. Let me stop with the nonsense. I'm over here bashing it. All right, so we have from Comic Book. So I see this one. This is a pretty good one. So CZ was arrested, pardoned. Yep, Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested, not pardoned. All right, so yeah, if Tom Lee and Michael said are both arrested for fraud, would you get out of crypto-related investments? Hell no. And they're not going to get arrested. I don't think so. They might get fined or feed because their circumstances are far different than Sam Bankman-Fried and CZ. I don't know the CZ fiasco. To be perfectly honest, I haven't dug deep, but I was following the FTX collapse. What Sam Bankman-Fried did was legitimate fraud. What he did was absolutely bad. Like he really defrauded a lot of investors, not just retail investors putting their money into FTX, but he defrauded investors who were giving their money to him. Right. One of the more popular investors out there was not Larry Fink, Kevin O'Leary, right? Shark Tank. He lost a ton of money investing with FTX. And a lot of YouTubers, obviously got really harmed their reputations when they partner with FTX. But yeah, that is totally different because there's already been lawsuits against MSTR by these class action lawsuits, these lawyers, these law firms that look for stuff. And they won, or they knocked. They didn't even proceed forward with it. They didn't do a settlement or anything. They didn't even proceed forward with the lawsuit. So it's different. It's far different, right? Because as you noted here, Sam Bankman was convicted, right? So he's actually convicted, meaning he did something really bad, right? Same thing with CZ. CDZ was actually arrested. Michael Saylor, Tom Lee, I don't think that is even in the same realm of what's going on. If anything, it'll be an investor lawsuit, a class action lawsuit against them. They'd have to pay some type of fee, et cetera. If it happens, maybe a settlement. But yes, I don't think, going to jail is going to be that. It's going to be that, or get to that extreme. Can it? Probably. I just don't see it. Let's see. Sam Bankman-Fried's parents were involved. Yeah, they were involved as well. They didn't obviously go to jail, but they're still trying to get Sam Bankman-Fried pardoned, I think, by the Trump administration. I think they're still trying to get him pardoned. But I think the FTX thing is it's still relevant, right? It's still burned into a lot of people. I don't think Trump wants to pardon them yet. I would not be surprised if Sam Bankman-Fried gets a pardon before the end of Trump's term, right? I would not be surprised. As a matter of fact, SBF and a lot of other high-profile people are all in the same jail. I can only imagine. Right. I can only imagine what they're all doing, right? What they're all in for and talking about it and stuff like that, right? You have Diddy's over there, I believe. So he's in the same jail or the same prison as Sam Bankman-Fried. And you also have I want to say it's man, there's a whole list of them. Not good, guys. Not good. Sam Bankman-Fried, profile people. Let's see. Yeah, they share the same thing, or the same prison. I can't find the list, but yeah, I know Sam Bankman-Fried is in the same jail or same prison with Diddy. So that's crazy. Oh my goodness, guys. All right. Well, I don't know what else to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Again, I'm just here having my coffee. It's let's see, it's 10:22, so that's what, 10:22 Eastern Standard Time, like PM. So some of you guys are probably getting ready for bed. Let's see what else we got out there. Maybe we got some breaking news or something. Futures are looking good. All right. Futures aren't looking too bad. So hopefully this keeps up and we have a really good day on Monday. Because, man, last week was just horrendous. Last week was horrible. 3 straight days of down. 3 straight days of down. And then we had the big dump. Okay, so I guess there was a halftime show. Bad Bunny did that. Let's see. I don't see anything really worth talking about it. We have CPI inflation right now that's at 68 basis points, which is insane. That's coming from Trueflation. All right, so that's not coming from government numbers. Let's see. Hilton Hotel, nice. Man, I miss traveling and like staying at hotels. Like I used to do a lot of traveling way back. And it's always fun to like stay at these it's like in Qatar, there's these really, like, they have all the big branches out there, all the big names. You have Hilton, you had they had Marriott hotels as well. So they had Hilton, Marriott, they had the W, they had I'm drawing a blank on some of these names. The really ritzy ones. Oh, the Ritz-Carlton was out there. Yeah, ritzy, right? They had the Ritz-Carlton out there. So the cool thing in the Middle East is that when they do these brunches, they do brunches on Fridays, I think, because that's usually like the day off for a lot of people. And these brunches is like all you can eat, all you can drink, right? And there it's really like cost efficient. I mean, you can do some damage with what you pay, right? But these brunches, man, they were so damn good. Like you could be having French cuisine, you could be having Indonesian, you could be having. There's a Mexican brunch I went to. There was a Brazilian steakhouse brunch I went to, right? It was like all you can eat and all you can drink. You know, it's not top shelf liquor. They usually have like a couple drinks of the day. But man, I always had fun going to hotels, man. Like that was always a lot of fun. Yeah, man, I'm just not seeing any news here or anything worth talking about. Let's see. Yep, that is pretty much it. Let's see. No way. Hear about the hotel that ripped up their gold floor lobby to sell, the Grand Emperor? Let's take a look at that. Victor saying, hey, you guys just came back from the gym. I'm waiting for Bitcoin's final dip 2. Any more news about Tesla and SpaceX merge? I'm looking to get into Tesla more. I haven't heard anything. I was listening to more stuff about the Tesla, XAI merger. Elon Musk sold himself XAI, so he's like $100 billion richer now. But no, I haven't heard anything else other than that. I just know that they're planning to IPO. If you believe in the whole idea of data centers in space, Elon Musk, he did a podcast. I haven't even listened to it, but he did do a podcast talking about why AI data centers in space make sense. I only caught like a bit here and there. I wasn't really listening to it. But yeah, it's he did do a stream about it. So if you're bullish Tesla, bullish this IPO that's potentially going to come out later this year, definitely something you're going to want to pay attention to, because that's the big story with Elon Musk and these data centers in space. And then you have Amazon also looking to launch a ton of satellites in space as well. Oh, you know what we didn't cover? Let's cover Amazon real quick. That just came back to me. Let's just cover Amazon real quick. All right, so Amazon, yeah, we already covered this piece, but we didn't go through their earnings reports. So this is so Amazon. I'll just summarize it. Amazon had a great quarter. They did it exceptionally well, but guess what the stock did? It sold off, right? That's what it did. It sold off, right? For no reason. Andy Jassy, CEO of Amazon, said, we expect to invest $200 billion in capital expenditures across Amazon, but predominantly in AWS, because we have a very high demand. Customer really want AWS for core and AI workloads, and we're monetizing capacity as fast as we can install it. They're spending, they're spending a ton of money on AWS, expanding capacity. Again, going back to what I said earlier, who do you think are going to be the benefactors of that, right? You can look at a chip company or a chip ETF, SMH, I think is going to be that ETF, right? If you look at the holdings, you already have an idea of who's going to be benefiting. Marvell was mentioned as one of them, because Marvell, they actually build, or they actually manufacture some of the Amazon chips. All right, CFO Brian Olsavsky, I can't even pronounce it. Worldwide revenue was $213 billion, a 12% increase year over year. Worldwide revenue up 12%. Okay. Guidance for Q1 net sales is between, and this is for this year, 173 billion and 178 billion, with an anticipated favorable impact of approximately 180 basis points from foreign exchange rates. Within the North America segment, we do expect a year-over-year cost increase, which is, this is probably what caused the stock to sell off, of approximately $1 billion related to Amazon LEO. All right, LEOs, they're low entry orbit satellites. We have more than 20 launches planned for 2026 and more than 30 in 2027, which means we're spending more on launching satellites each year. So you have Amazon also getting into the space race with, Elon Musk. So again, Amazon's going to be in everything. The company plans further investments in international stores to enhance customer experience and speed up online retail demand, including the expansion of Amazon Now. AWS revenue, and this is their cloud, their data center stuff. AWS revenue was $35 billion for the quarter, with quarter-over-quarter revenue increasing by $2 billion, $2.6 billion. All right, worldwide paid units grew 12% year over year, making the highest growth rate in 2025. Operating margins improved, with North America at 9% and international at 2.1%. Advertising revenue grew to $21 billion in the quarter, up 22% year over year. So the advertising business is doing really, really well. All right, aside from their AWS. Full operating cash flow increased to $139 billion. That's a 20% increase year over year. And then just towards the end, we'll just take the final takeaway. Again, this is Amazon. Amazon's Q4 2025 earnings call delivered a strong message of accelerating growth and bold investment, with management underscoring the company's $200 billion capital expenditure plan focused on AWS and AI infrastructure. AWS's rapid growth, deepening backlog, and innovative product launches signal high confidence in capturing expanding demand in cloud and generative AI. Investments in ultra-fast delivery, robotics, and new retail experiences position Amazon for continued leadership. All right, while the company remains attentive to risks inherent in scaling at this pace, management consistently expressed conviction that these investments will deliver robust returns and sustain shareholder value. So anyone who's in Amazon, shout out to you guys. You guys are, I'm sure, very happy with the direction Amazon is heading to, even though the stock price is not cooperating. Okay, even though the stock price is not cooperating. Again, all these companies, all these Mag 7 companies, big companies, they're all doing really well, but investors are still selling off, right? Still selling off for seemingly no reason other than a little thing here, a tiny miss there, right? Increasing capital expenditures, right? I mean, you go down the pipeline, man, and just realize who is going to be benefiting from all this money that these companies are spending. It's not just going to be semiconductors. It's also going to be the metal miners. All right. It's also going to be the power companies, the power infrastructure companies. It's going to be them. That's why XLE is also going on a rip right now. That's why XLE is starting to trend even higher. Maybe XLE is going to be the story this year, right? Energy select sector is going to be all about it. So Victor says, to be honest, Starlink, for example, is really big now in war zones too. That is very true, very true. I actually have friends that have Starlink in some of the areas that they work in, and yeah. Anyways, I'm more bullish on SpaceX, and they have the biggest spaceships right now, and will be the leaders in the future. Yeah, they have SpaceX, all those reusable rockets and everything, and Elon Musk, in order to launch all the satellites into space, I mean, what do you think he's going to be using? He's not going to go to NASA, right? He's going to use his own rockets. I agree 100% with this. AWS is one of the best services online ever. I really do like AWS. I wanted to be an AWS architect at one point back when I was doing IT. I was working on getting certified, took the test, missed it by like a question. But the environment that I was working in was primarily Windows environment based, and they didn't do any cloud stuff. So I stuck with, was it Microsoft Azure? So I stuck with the Microsoft Azure stuff. Azure and AWS, very, very similar. It's just the wording, and it's more so the wording is different. Like it's been a while since I've looked at it, but Amazon Web Services, they call their virtual servers instances. And then AWS, I forget what they called them, or not AWS, Azure. Azure calls them something else, but they were pretty much identical. So when I was taking the Microsoft Azure exam way back when, I was able to pass the test fairly easily because I had studied so much for AWS, which was a total bummer because I really wanted to work on AWS. The way you can deploy things, you can deploy these massive cloud environments using AWS with a couple clicks of a button was absolutely crazy. For the non-tech people, you could imagine this. You could build a virtual data center in a cloud, right? Think about that. Like, you build a whole data center in a cloud. It's pretty damn crazy, or at least that's the parallel I can give you guys. Let's see. Anyways, looking at XLE, I wanted to take a look at some of the holdings, so you guys can kind of take a look, and you know, maybe this might give you guys somewhere to start in case you want single stock exposure. But we have ExxonMobil, Chevron, ConocoPhillips, right? Let's take a look at those big three, because I know Exxon has been, I think it's Exxon that's been ripping lately. Look at that. ExxonMobil up 21% year to date. 21% year to date. ExxonMobil. Let's take a look at Chevron, which I think is CVX. %16 year to date. They are up. They're killing it. Again, sector rotation, right? Money's moving away from tech and into energy. And maybe that's the trade this year. Maybe that's going to be the wave. ConocoPhillips. I'm not going to spell that. Let's do a little copy pasta over here. ConocoPhillips year to date, 11% over the last year. Look at that steep incline. From November to today is 24%, up 24%. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. All right. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for me. I'm going to get going. I know it's Sunday night for a lot of you people. I appreciate everyone on X, all right, and YouTube joining me in. I got 25 people on X. I appreciate you guys coming in and listening to me just chat and talk about nonsense. Shout out to the 23 who stayed with me to the end on YouTube. So appreciate if you guys did like this content, this whatever event that we have, you know, be sure to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I think that's going to do it for me, guys. All right. So let's see how the market turns out tomorrow. And we'll be streaming, of course, tomorrow. All right. We'll definitely be streaming end of day. We'll do the stream the end of day like we usually do. All right. So looking forward to that. So as always, appreciate you guys joining me in the chat. All right. Appreciate you guys joining me for the stream. You guys have a wonderful night, wonderful day, wherever you are in the world. And I will see you all in the next stream. You guys take care.